It's time for me to change over from my tack setup to my hunting setup. And just like the small nuances that I did to change over to my summer training bow, I'm gonna make these same changes gradually over the next 4 weeks to convert over to my hunting setup. But I wanted to talk with you about what those little changes were so that you understand what I'm doing to go from this over to my hunting setup. And this is something that I gradually add in a few extra things each week. That way I can kind of stay on pace with my shooting ability and my training ability and not try to change too much at one time. The big thing is going to be the poundage. I shoot right around 60 pounds for all my summer training. That's how I get so many reps. The other thing is I shoot a much different arrow. I shoot a smaller vane. I'm not having to steer a broadhead, so I have this smaller vane. It also lets my sight get closer to it so I can get longer distance. And I usually have a lighter arrow, about 80 grains lighter than what I'm gonna hunt with. Now for my hunting bow, I'm gonna slowly make these changes over. First thing that I did was I have limbs on here that I'm gonna work up to 73 or 74 pounds. Right now, I'm about 4 pounds over what my white bow was. So I'm gonna add in about 3 pounds every week leading up to season. Again, I'm a month out, and this is a great time for you to start training, because historically, when I trained for major championships, I always gave myself 21 days to really polish myself and get in tune with my shooting and my equipment without suffering from burnout. And everybody has a different threshold for that, but mine was always about 3 to 4 weeks. If I really focus on something much more than that, I just started to get repetitive and complacent and just go through the motions rather than focus on productivity. So I've got these limbs right now that are heavier than what I had, but not fully heavy yet. I'm gonna work up to that. However, I have changed over to a hunting arrow. So this is about 80 grains heavier. It's gonna be a little bit slower through flight, but that's a characteristic that I wanna get used to, is that difference in arc and learning that a little bit. I also went to the lighted NOCK. The lighted NOCK fits a little bit different than those other NOCKs, so I made sure that my NOCK fit was what I needed it to be for this particular NOCK. Went to the bigger fletching as well so that I can steer a broadhead. Peep sight is now a little bit bigger. I also went ahead and mounted a sight light on my sights because in a dark situation I'll need that. Now, one of the things I have yet to do is I'm gonna start taking some of the stabilization weight off my bow. A lot of questions about whether or not I shoot a back rod in a hunting situation. I personally don't. I think it gets in the way a lot and it's cumbersome, takes up too much space in the blind when you're trying to maneuver around or when I'm crawling through brush. So probably by next week, this smaller, lighter stabilizer is gonna get moved to the front. The long one will come off, and then that will let me then go ahead and apply my quiver weight to the side and get my overall mass weight up. If you want to jump over and change everything at one time, that's certainly your choice. But for me personally, I kind of do it gradually. That way I have something new each week to kind of tinker with and something to work on feeling better about on the practice range. So the other thing, I guess, last but not least, I used my Silverback for 7 months. 7 months, I have shot this thing religiously, and I just changed back over to my NOCK to it. Honestly, the main reason I did was just to try out some of the new thumb barrels, but I could easily hunt with a Silverback as well. There's a slight difference in impact for me, but that has to do with just the difference in how I'm pulling through my shots with one versus the other. But honestly, how well I am shooting this NOCK to it, my thumb trigger, after months of the tension release is insane. I'm shooting so well right now And yeah, just very excited. Last thing was I did put felt on my arrow rest. A lot of people ask about the noise on my arrow rest during the off season. I don't want to continually wear through that when I'm getting in copious amounts of reps and shooting. But now that I'm getting closer to the hunting season, I went ahead and put my felt on there. And again, I did redo my knocking points to make sure they fit perfectly with my lighted nock. And that gave me the ability to make a little bit of an adjustment for the height difference, because I now have that taller felt on there. So that's all I'm doing. I went back to the power of 4, had a little bit of a break for shooting, enjoyed some summer with the family, but now that I'm back, I'm doing 4 at a time, and I'm just gonna keep working up to 6 at a time. And currently I've been shooting a few groups at one distance, then move and shoot a group to the next different distance. And then once I'm kind of warmed up, I do what I'm referring to as running the gauntlet and just shooting one at each station. It's been going awesome. I highly recommend looking at your training like this. It's seasonal, so by you having something slightly different, it gives you just a little bit of focus, and again, gives me a little bit of something to tinker with, to take away from the monotony of practice, but then it also gives me something each of these weeks to work on. And that's what I'm gonna be doing with you. I'm gonna be talking with you about what I'm working on each of these weeks. But certainly week 1 leading into hunting season is getting my equipment right. And that felt nice. Put one more in there for good measure. Hopefully you guys are starting to practice. Don't procrastinate. Archery is perishable. Good start.